accounting of income tax in the books. And more importantly, the focus would be on calculation of deferred tax. There are two types of taxation that we have to calculate here: deferred tax and current tax. Current tax is what is paid to the government. In your office, that ITR that you calculate, tax, finally, after all adjustments, deductions, exemptions, that is current tax. But if you only account for current tax, then you are going to violate the principle of accrual and matching. In some year you get a lot of exemptions, deductions, so that year tax liability is lower. Say for example, you purchase a fixed asset and you get 100% depreciation in the first year itself, so that year your tax liability will be lower. But in the next year your tax liability will be higher. Why? Because all deductions you have claimed in the first year, so second year your tax liability will be higher. So if I compare the profit on year to year basis, first year profit will be high because of lower tax liability. Second year profit would be low because of higher tax liability. So profit before depreciation and tax and profit before tax will be almost same, but profit after tax figure will vary significantly if I only do the accounting of current tax. So therefore this standard requires that you must also do the accounting of deferred tax. The purpose of deferred tax accounting is to ensure two things: one, matching, and second, accrual. So whatever item you have covered in your income statement, profit and loss statement, the tax effect of those items should also be considered in the same statement of profit and loss. Is it right? Otherwise profit will vary from year to year only because of treatment of taxation. So see, the approach of this standard is fundamentally different from your existing accounting standard 22. For companies which do not apply Ind AS, they apply accounting standard 22, accounting for taxes on income. And those companies which will apply Ind AS, they will apply Ind AS 12. Now what is the fundamental difference between the two standards? The fundamental difference between the two standards, very fundamental difference, is AS 22, it is based on income and expense. It is based on income and expense. So that is, it's basically, you can say, P&L oriented. And Ind AS 12 is based on assets and liabilities. It is based on assets and liabilities. So it is balance sheet oriented. But there is a note, it says, however, the underlying concepts remain the same. That means whatever answer you will get under AS 22, more or less you will get the same answer under Ind AS 12. More or less you will get same answer under Ind AS 12, but Ind AS 12 is very vast, more detailed, and covers many aspects which have not been covered by accounting standard 22. It is possible that many students may not have studied AS 22, and many of you may have studied AS 22. So vote for who has studied AS 22. Vote for who has not studied AS 22. So therefore we will not discuss AS 22 only. Is it right? So that there is no scope of any confusion. We'll not discuss AS22 only, how it is done. No discussion about AS22, so that you will only study this standard, Ind AS 12 right now. Okay, so don't bother. Even if you have studied, the answer remains the same. The standard prescribes accounting treatment for the current and future tax consequences. So the standard prescribes accounting treatment of. Now I am assuming that you are a student of CA course and you are a champion of income tax. You are a champion of income tax, assumption, okay. So you know how to compute the current tax liability. That is your basically the tax return that you prepare in offices, starting from income from salary going up to taxable income and then tax liability. I am assuming that you know all the basic fundamentals of income tax. I don't know much. Disclaimer. So therefore, my knowledge on income tax is little on a weaker side. So I will only take some basic discussion, but in the exam, some additional adjustments can be asked also. The standard prescribes the accounting treatment for current tax. Current tax means what we pay to the government. Paid to government. That online payment that you make is current tax. Or if you pay through challan, that is also current tax. It is what is actually paid. And future tax consequences. Future tax consequences will be deferred tax. Deferred tax is an accounting concept only. Deferred tax is an accounting concept. Deferred tax is not paid to the government. It is only to ensure matching concept. It's a matching tool. It's a tool to ensure that your profit and loss account does not become too volatile on year to year basis. And future tax consequences arising from future recovery of carrying amount of asset. The value of an asset for accounting purpose and for tax purpose can be different. True or false? Say for example, a fixed asset is purchased. On day one, in the books of account also, it is 1 lakh. For tax purpose also, it is 1 lakh. But at the end of the year, the value of the two can be different. Depreciation 25%. Here you will get suppose 100% depreciation in the first year only. So your carrying amount 75,000, or it can be 0 also. So it will have a tax implication. It will have a tax implication. In future, you are going to depreciate this 75,000 rupees. Okay. But for tax purpose, no benefit will be allowed. So therefore in future, there is a tax consequence because of difference in the book value and tax base. This is called tax base. In this chapter, they have used a terminology called tax base, and for accounting purpose, carrying amount. Similarly, future settlement of carrying amount of liabilities will have a tax consequence. One example which I know is bonus payable. Bonus payable to employees. In the books of account, we will pass an entry. Bonus account debit to bonus payable to employee. And bonus will be transferred to profit and loss account, correct? But in income tax, there is a section which says bonus will be deducted in calculating the income tax only if it is paid on or before. Complete the sentence. Due date. On or before due date of filing of return. Suppose you have not paid the bonus. So for tax purpose, bonus was not deducted, but for accounting purpose, bonus as an expense is deducted. So bonus payable is appearing in the balance sheet as a liability, which has not yet been paid. So it has a tax consequence. It has a tax consequence because in future when you'll pay the bonus, you'll get the deduction under the Income Tax Act. So future settlement of bonus in our example will have a tax consequence. Okay. And current period transactions or events that are recognized. So tax consequence can arise also because of the current period transactions and events. Say for example, preliminary expenses. Today's batch would look like an income tax batch, but this is a topic like that only. Preliminary expense in books of account, what we do? Write off fully. Suppose preliminary expenses 25,000 incurred. We'll pass the entry. Preliminary expense account debit to bank account 25,000. P&L account debit to preliminary expenses 25,000. Preliminary expenses has to be written off in the first year only. So it is not appearing in the balance sheet either as an asset or as a liability. But for tax purpose, 1/5 will be deducted in the first year and 4/5 will be adjusted in future year. Again, there is a tax consequence in future because of this transaction. Okay, so in this chapter we have to also provide for items like preliminary expenses which is not appearing in the balance sheet but it has a tax consequence. Okay, these are few examples. So today's topic will be the same only, that this item how it is treated in accounting and how it is treated for tax purpose. And if the treatment is different, if the treatment is different, welcome to Ind AS 12. Is it right? That means there will be a difference. And if there is a difference, it will give rise to deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability. Now, what was the purpose of introducing a standard like Ind AS 12? To bring matching concept. Okay, matching concept means income should be matched against expense. Income has to be matched against expense. For every item that you are writing in the profit and loss statement, there is a tax consequence also. So therefore, in the same period in which revenue or expense is recognized, the related tax adjustment should also be done in the same period. So matching concept. I'm going to show you one example after some time where you'll find if you do not apply Ind AS 12, matching concept is violated, profit and loss will show different figures in different years. And also it brings accrual concept. How? Suppose you get 100% deduction under the income tax law. So you may not pay tax in that year, but you are going to pay tax in the future period. You are going to pay tax in the future period. So this standard would require that you must make a provision for deferred tax liability. You are aware, if you get 100% deduction under the income tax law, don't be very happy. Be happy, but not be very happy. Why? Because if you have already claimed the depreciation in the first year, you are not going to claim in the subsequent year. So you are losing the benefit of the subsequent year. So you are saving the tax in this year, but you will pay more tax in the next year, future years. Is it right? So this standard will say you provide for the deferred tax liability in that case. The liability which you have postponed. Provide for this. And one of the indirect benefit of this standard is it helps us to introduce the concept of prudence also. Suppose you don't pay tax in this year because of high deductions. Your profit will be high. But in future your tax liability will be more, because you have claimed benefit in this year. So by providing for deferred tax liability, your profit gets reduced. Profit gets reduced, and when your profit gets reduced, you do not pay too much dividend to the shareholders. Is it right? So some profit is just retained in the firm because that amount will be used to pay tax in future years. Is it right? You're saving tax now, but you'll pay more tax in future. So therefore, by providing for deferred tax liability, you are creating a kind of cushion that you do not pay more dividend. You keep the funds with you because you will require it to pay more tax liability in the future years. So indirectly, what deferred tax liability accounting at least does, if it is DTL, it reduces your distributable profit. And if it reduces your profit to be distributed as dividend, funds are kept in the firm so that in future you can meet a higher tax liability. Okay. Now see what will happen if you do not apply Ind AS 12. What will happen if you do not apply Ind AS 12? So just understand this example. No need to write. There could be situations where depreciation is charged in the books over its useful life, but for which the entire deduction is claimed in the first year as per the tax laws. Do you know that section number where 100% depreciation is allowed in the first years? One's 20 saying 32. You said something different. 35. 35. Section 35 under scientific research and development purpose. Section 200. 200% deduction is also there. Weighted deduction is also there. Just please tell me, I will also purchase similar asset. And on which asset? Tell me fast. I am so excited. Can classroom teaching be treated as scientific? Sad. So we'll take only 100%. You should make donation to National Laboratory. How much deduction? 175% deduction. Are you serious? Oh. Suppose the profit for the first year is 2 lakh rupees. No. After the class, I will think about all these provisions, okay? Profit for the first year is 2 lakh. Now let us say you are doing accounting as per books of account, okay? What you do in your offices, see, for small clients, unlisted companies or proprietorship, you do this calculation. You take PBDT, 2 lakh. In the books of account, we'll provide depreciation over 5 years. So cost of the asset is assume 1 lakh, life is 5 years. So depreciation 1 lakh divided by 5, 20,000. PBT 1 lakh 80,000. And then what we do? We first do the tax calculation as per the income tax law. Under the income tax law, PBDT is 2 lakh. Assume no disallowance. But depreciation, you got entire 1 lakh rupees, which is the cost of the asset. So taxable income is 1 lakh. Income tax rate is 30%. So as per income tax, 30,000. So if I only provide the income tax amount, what will be the shape of my P&L account? My P&L account would look like this. This is what you do in the offices still. Many CAs or articles don't even know that there is something called Accounting Standard 22 or Ind AS 12. This is more for matching concept, accrual concept. In a small firm, matching concept, accrual concept, we don't bother. Only how much tax we have to pay to the government, and that too what the client wishes to pay is what we calculate. Okay. So therefore, I don't know how many of you have ever applied deferred tax accounting in your office. Anybody? Raise hand. Raise hand. You? 1, 2. Only few students. You? Never. Same normal accounting. Only in case of companies we apply, because their accounting standards and Ind AS is mandatory. So this is your P&L account. Let us continue. 2,20,000, 1,80,000, 30,000, 150. I'll go to the previous slide. If I apply the matching concept, tax should have been proportionately. If your income is 1,80,000, 30% tax rate, proportionate charge should have been 54,000. But instead of 54,000, we are charging 30,000 because we got a very high deduction, and therefore my PAT is 1,50,000. No problem. Come to second year. Assuming profit before depreciation and tax remains the same, but in second year, my depreciation under tax law will be 0. I have already claimed 100% depreciation in the first year. So my taxable income is 2 lakh. My taxable income is, and what will be my tax liability? 30% of 2 lakh. How will my second year P&L account look like? If I do not apply either AS 22 or Ind AS 12, my second year profit and loss account would look like this. Second year PBDT 2 lakh, depreciation as per books 20,000, PBT 1,80,000, tax provision based on actual tax liability. Only actual tax liability they have provided. Right now we are not applying Ind AS 12, 1,20,000. Now to make the understanding more clear, I will bring both here together. This is the comparison chart of year 1 and year 2. PBDT is same, 2 lakh, 2 lakh. Depreciation is same, 20,000, 20,000. PBT is same. But the tax liability that you have charged is different. 30,000, 60,000. PAT, 1,50,000, 1,20,000. Now, Sarvesh is the shareholder of the company. Now he is thinking, last year income was 1,50,000. This year income is 1,20,000. There is a 20% drop in the earning of a company. What will happen to the investor? Will he be happy or sad? Sad. He will start blaming the management of the company. Okay, in the annual general meeting, he will say, what kind of company you are? Last year your profit was 1.5 lakh, this year 1.2 lakh. If the trend continues, next year it will be not even 1 lakh. You have become inefficient since last year. I want to sell all my shares in this company. Okay. Is it due to the efficiency or inefficiency of the company? That the company's profit has gone down from 1,50,000 to 1,20,000? No, it is just an accounting. Just because of tax provision, this profit has changed from 1,50,000 to 1,20,000, even though the operating efficiency of the company is the same. EPS will also drop. Last year EPS, suppose 10,000 shares are there in the company, 15 rupees. This year EPS will be 12 rupees, from 15 to 12. If P ratio is 10, last year market price will be 15 into 10 times 150 rupees. Immediately after the results are published, 12 into 10, 120 rupees, 30 rupees fall in the market price. Market capitalization of the company will fall by 20%. Okay. And it will create a panic mode, so further fall in the prices. Because investor will think that something has gone wrong with the company. Not everybody is smart like you to understand it is just due to accounting. What investors look at the bottom line. Last year 1,50,000, this year 1,20,000. He may not be educated like you in the field of accounting to understand that this is only because of taxation accounting. Right? So to avoid such shocks, Ind AS 12 is there. And after a few minutes you will find the benefit of Ind AS 12. Such shocks will not be there if you apply Ind AS 12. So paragraph 2 in your book, after that long introduction, recognition of deferred tax is based on the principle that, so what is the principle or the concept of deferred tax? That when an asset or a liability is recognized, when an asset or a liability is recognized, it is obvious that the entity will recover or settle the carrying amount of that asset or liability. When you recognize an asset, it will be recovered. How it will be recovered? For example, if you have fixed asset, it will be recovered. How? Two ways. Either due to use or due to sale. If you have inventory, how will you recover? Sell. If you have debtor, how will you recover? You will collect the amount. Is it right? So assets are recovered. Assets are recovered and liabilities are settled. Assets are recovered, liabilities are settled. So you have bonus payable. Whenever you will pay that amount, it will be settled. You have creditors payable. You have provision for gratuity which will be settled. You have provision for warranty which will be settled. Okay. So it is obvious that entity will recover or settle the carrying amount of the asset or liability. Now sometimes what happens, when the entity recovers the asset or liability, it will have a tax consequence. It will have a tax consequence. Consequence. What is consequence? Suppose you don't study at all and go to the CA final exam. Something will happen. That is the consequence. Okay. Like for example, bonus payable is appearing in balance sheet which has not been paid. So whenever you will pay the bonus, you will get the deduction under the income tax law. So it has a tax consequence. When you will sell the fixed asset, there will be profit or loss. So there will be tax consequence. So not every item will have tax consequence. For those items which will have no tax consequence, we will ignore them. We will not create deferred tax for such items. But for those items which will have tax consequence in future, we will create deferred tax on such items. Is it right? That is the theme of this topic. If as a result of such recovery or settlement of carrying amount, future tax payment is affected, Ind AS 12 requires that in order to ensure the matching principle, entity should recognize either a deferred tax liability or deferred tax asset whenever the related assets or liabilities are recognized. So if there is a tax consequence of recognizing an asset or a liability, you are also going to recognize deferred tax liability or deferred tax asset. How to calculate it? That is what we will learn in the today's lecture. So what is the objective of Ind AS 12? Matching, accrual. Deferred tax is a matching tool. See, one example is printed in your book. Example 1. ASF Limited has a building worth rupees 2 lakh. So we have purchased a building for 2 lakh. The current tax rate is 20%. ASF Limited decides to revalue the building at a fair value of rupees 5 lakh. Ind AS 16 allows you to revalue the building upward, downward. Okay. By doing so, the entity is recognizing that in future it is likely to be able to sell the asset for rupees 5 lakh. So when your building is revalued to 5 lakh, it means you are expecting that you will sell the building and realize a value equal to 5 lakh. And since you are going to sell the building at rupees 5 lakh, whose current book is 2 lakh, it means you will have to pay tax on that. Hello, it means you will have to pay tax on that. it is also likely to have to pay tax later on, then it should account for in the some manner. Therefore, deferred tax on rupees 3 lakh. What is 3 lakh? 3 lakh is the difference between the book value and the tax base. Understand again. Today we'll go slowly. Book value, tax base. Initially it was 2 lakh in both places. When I purchased the building, the book value and the tax base is 2 lakh. But then you revalued the building upward by 3 lakh. Tell me, you are a student of income tax also. Does income tax allow you to revalue an asset upward? Louder, yes or no? No. Otherwise people will stop paying tax only. They will just keep on increasing the block of asset value from 2 lakh to 5 lakh. Claim more depreciation. Income Tax Act says in accountancy you do whatever you want to do. But for tax purpose we'll follow historical cost method as far as depreciation calculation is concerned. So now the book value after this revaluation is 5 lakh, but for tax purpose it is 2 lakh, and therefore there is a difference of 3 lakh got created. A difference of 3 lakh got created. Now this 3 lakh difference represents that in future whenever we will realize the building we'll have to pay tax. Whenever we will realize the building we'll have to pay tax. So the standard says you have to create a deferred tax liability because you are increasing the book value of building. So whenever the building will be sold, you'll have to pay more tax. So why don't you create a provision for deferred tax now? Okay. So therefore deferred tax should be recognized in the current year. So after that long introduction, first 5 minutes we'll go through some important definitions. Okay. Basics have to be very strong in this chapter so that you can solve any question very easily. Otherwise you'll find it little confusing. What is accounting profit? Accounting profit means profit or loss for a period before deducting income tax expense. Write in bracket, it means PBT. That means income minus all expenses. Income minus all expenses is PBT. But before deducting income tax expense. Is it right? So that is accounting profit. What you have been learning so far in your 11, 12, foundation, inter, final is accounting profit calculation. Is it right? What is tax expense? Somewhere below. Before that I will also read taxable profit for you. If it is not appearing on the screen. Taxable profit or tax loss. Taxable profit or tax loss is the profit or loss for a period determined in accordance with the rules established by the taxation authorities upon which the income taxes are payable or recoverable. Now this is basically as per tax laws. Profit calculated as per tax laws. Tax laws can be your local tax laws. Local means not municipality, Indian. Or it can be foreign tax laws also, because companies now earn income from different parts of the world. So therefore Infosys is earning from America. So as per American laws, whatever is the taxable profit is also a part of this chapter. So law can be Indian tax law, that Income Tax Act 1900 something. 63. 61. Okay, good. I was checking whether you are awake or not. So 1961, and then similarly if you have foreign income, there can be a foreign income tax act, like in USA you have an income tax law which I have passed while preparing for CP exam, but now I don't know anything. Passed and forget. Okay. What is tax expense? Tax expense means sum of two items, not just current tax. It means current tax and deferred tax also. Deferred tax can be deferred tax liability or deferred tax asset. If it is deferred tax liability, the total tax expense will be current tax plus deferred tax liability. If it is deferred tax asset, the total tax expense will be current tax minus deferred tax asset. But then you should ask, what is current tax? Current tax is the tax payable to the government as per the respective tax law. So first we will read current tax. Current tax is the amount of income tax payable or recoverable. Recoverable generally in case of loss we can adjust it against income in future. So the word recoverable is also there. Okay. Payable is if you have a positive income. Recoverable is when you have a negative income. You can set off. So indirectly you are recovering it from the government against your future income only. Is it right? Loss also has an advantage in income tax. You can use it for setting off the future tax liability. In some country, if you have loss in this year but profit in the past year, you can also go backward and adjust it against the past profit. Like in USA it happens. That is called tax credit. Or in some European countries also it happens. In 2018-19 you have a loss. 17-18 there was a profit. You can adjust backward also and get the refund. But in India that is not allowed. Okay, Indians are very smart. If such provisions are given, they can do great things. Is it right? So current tax is the tax payable or recoverable in respect of taxable profit or tax loss for a period. So in your offices, what you do? You prepare an income tax return. After all plus minus, you arrive at tax liability, then you make a phone call to your client, sir, this is your tax liability. Please either you pay or we will pay, and then later on you will reimburse. Is it right? That is your current tax. And then what is deferred tax? Deferred tax is the difference between your carrying amount and tax base, resulting into some tax consequence. That is called deferred tax. Okay. So this chapter is all about current tax and deferred tax, but focus will be more on deferred tax. Calculating current tax is nothing but teaching you Income Tax Act again. Yes or no? Calculating current tax in this accounts batch is as good as solving a problem of income tax, which is beyond the scope of my domain. Okay. Now, first 2-3 minutes only recognition of current tax liabilities and current tax asset. Taxes on income payable for the current period is called current tax. Current tax and any tax in respect of a previous year to the extent unpaid will be recognized as a liability. Short provision for taxation will appear as a liability. Short provision for taxation. This is also current tax, but this will appear as a liability. If the amount already paid by way of advance tax in respect of current and prior period exceeds the amount due for this period, the excess amount shall be treated as asset. In India, how the income tax works, very interesting. Government says this is your financial year. We will decide what is your financial year. You can't decide your financial year. ठीक है? So at present the financial year is 1/4 to 31st March of the next year. And then he says, we don't trust you. What government says? We don't trust you. So therefore, you calculate your annual income in advance. Okay. So suppose you come to 15 June, estimate what will be your total taxable income. Estimate your total tax liability and pay tax, not fully, some proportion. So by 15 June you have to pay 15%, am I right, of your estimated total tax liability. Then 15 September 45% of estimated total tax liability, and then you have to keep revising your estimate also, because as the days will pass you will get more information. Then on 15th December, how much is that? 75. 15th September I have told you 75%, and 15th March 90 or 100? Is it 90? But my CA always tells me that you pay 100%. Okay, I don't know, but it is, students are saying 90%, but I normally pay 100%. Okay, you will not pay the interest if you pay up to 90%, but otherwise you have to pay 100% of your estimated tax liability. Is it right? So see, this is the trick of the government. Before the year gets over, it tries to collect all the tax liability from you, and if you don't pay, then there are so many types of interest also that they levy upon you. I don't know the section now, 234 A, B, C, whatever. I'm least bothered now. Okay. But this is how the advanced tax system works. When you pay advance tax, what entry you pass, and when you provide for current tax, what entry you pass, and how do you present in the balance sheet? That is what my area of interest is. So when you pay advance tax, you will pass the following entries. Advance tax account debit to bank account. And in order to keep a track of which advance tax relates to which financial year, normally what some companies do till the assessment is complete, they also write here in bracket 17, 18 or 18, 19, so that you know in this year this much advance tax has been paid. Normal entry for any payment, advance tax, and advance tax will go to balance sheet. At the end of the period, we pass an entry for recognizing the tax, current tax. Right now the topic is current tax, which will just take 1 or 2 more minutes. Entry for current tax is current tax expense account debit, which goes to P&L account. In your intermediate syllabus you were told this entry, P&L account to provision for taxation. Same entry, but instead of directly writing P&L account, we should first debit current tax expense or any such name to provision for taxation or to current tax liability. This will hit the P&L account, this will go to balance sheet. So which means in balance sheet 2 figures will appear. Advance tax will appear as an asset and provision for taxation will appear as a liability. Can we set off? The answer is it depends on 2 conditions. If they relate to same tax law, if they relate to same taxation law, if you have paid advance tax in USA and you are creating a provision for tax to be paid in India, you can't set off. So they relate to same taxation law and entity intends to set it off. Entity intends to set off. So if you have paid advance tax of 1 lakh rupees and your tax liability comes to 1 lakh 1,000, Are you going to pay separately 1,01,000, or you will first adjust against advance tax and pay only 1,000 rupees at the time of filing your return or assessment? We pay normally the difference only. So if that is the case, they are relating to same tax law and the entity intends to set it off, in that case you will present a net amount only. Net amount means, suppose advance tax paid is 1 lakh and current tax liability is 90,000. So 1 lakh minus 90,000, only 10,000 advance tax will be paid, because ultimately out of 1 lakh, 90,000 liability will be paid. If advance tax paid is 90,000 and current tax liability is 1 lakh, then you will show provision for tax only 10,000. Is it right? So this is about current tax. Now suppose the assessment is over. Assessment, all of you know assessment. You will file your tax return, then it goes to the income tax officer. Then they will sit down and see what this person has done. Has he calculated his tax correctly or not? Okay. And then he will issue one assessment order which may either increase or decrease your income. Normally increase only. Chances of decrease is very, very low. And you receive the assessment order, and suppose you do not file an appeal. You say, okay, what entry will you pass? Now you close those open account relating to that assessment year. You close those open account relating to that assessment year. Don't keep it open forever. Once the assessment is over, current tax liability account debit, book value, to advance tax account. So these two accounts relating to that financial year will be closed. Is it right? And sometimes you may get refund. Sometimes you may get refund if your luck is good. Bank account debit, refund received. Or sometime you may have to pay some more tax. Sometimes you may have to pay some more tax if tax liability is more than the advance tax. Is it right? So this is the entry we pass and we close the books. Institute will not test your accounting of current taxation, because it's a part of the chapter we have discussed, but in the exam they will not test generally current tax accounting in detail. So that becomes totally a domain of income tax. Is it right? And these entries were taught in the intermediate chapter called company final accounts also, right? Do you remember something like this? No? How did you manage to reach here? No problem. From paragraph number 6, the real accounting under Ind AS 12 begin. Up to this was only introduction and some basic knowledge of current tax accounting. In this chapter, in order to calculate deferred tax, we have to calculate two things. We have to calculate current carrying amount, and we have to calculate the tax base. Carrying amount will be calculated by applying the respective Ind AS. For example, carrying amount of any property, plant, equipment, Ind AS 610. Carrying amount of any financial asset or financial liability, there is Ind AS 109. Carrying amount of provisions, Ind AS 37. Carrying amount of employee related liabilities, Ind AS? Okay. Okay, understood. Carrying amount of inventory as per Ind AS 2. So carrying amount will be calculated by applying the respective Ind AS. How to calculate the tax base? That means what is its value for tax purpose? Tax base means what is its value for tax purpose. For tax return purpose, what is the value of this asset or liability. Is it right? So that is called tax base of an asset or a liability. Tax base of an asset or liability is the amount attributable to that asset or liability for tax purpose. Is the value of that asset or liability for income tax purpose. I will first write a simple example which you may not write if you don't want to write. Suppose you purchased a fixed asset for 1 lakh, fixed asset. Under income tax, depreciation rate is 25%. Depreciation 25%. So 25,000. What is this 75,000? This is the tax base of this fixed asset for income tax purpose. In future, 75,000 will be further deducted, either in the form of depreciation. If you use it, you will get depreciation equal to 75,000. Slowly and slowly you will depreciate it. Or you can sell it. So when you will sell it, this 75,000 will be deducted from the sale proceed to arrive at the profit. Am I right? In both cases, you will get a deduction of 75,000. If you use it, in this example, you will get depreciation equal to 75,000. If you sell it, 75,000 will be deducted from the sale proceed to arrive at the tax liability. Is it right? So that is called tax base. This is easy to understand, so we are taking this example. But every time it will not be a fixed asset example. So we will have to calculate in the next few paragraphs tax base for an asset. How to find the tax base for an asset? What is the value of this asset for tax purpose? Tax base of a liability. And we will also calculate the tax base of some items which may not have any carrying amount but can have a tax base. Which may not have any carrying amount but can have a tax base. Example, preliminary expenses written off. Preliminary expenses written off do not have any carrying amount. We have written off. But in income tax, you are allowed to write it off in 5 installments. So there is a tax base of an item which is not recognized as asset or liability. Maximum thing you keep writing, so that future when you read, you will understand better. Okay? Yes? Yes. And there are some more sections in the Income Tax Act which are written off in the first year for accounting purpose. If I am correct, I remember VRS expenditure also. Voluntary retirement scheme. Yes or no? For accounting purpose, what is the treatment under Ind AS 19? Charge to penal account. But for tax purpose, is it allowed fully in the same year, or you are required to amortize it in 5 installment? Am I right? See, my knowledge is little weak, so you have to excuse me. So this is about tax base. Now we'll further understand by only focusing now on tax base of an asset. Institute material is little complicated to understand this chapter. So I have simplified it by dividing into piecemeal. First we'll see what is tax base of an asset. Under that also, we'll further divide into 2 categories. We'll further divide into 2 categories: when economic benefits are taxable and when economic benefits are not taxable. We'll see their meaning in the respective paragraphs. And when economic benefits are taxable, it may be related to an expense or it may be related to an income. Say for example, related to expense, example depreciation on fixed asset. So fixed asset which are depreciated. So here it is related to an expense. Related to income will be interest taxable on receipt basis. Interest taxable on receipt basis. It is not an expense. Under the income tax law, it is possible that they will allow you to pay tax on interest income or such income on receipt basis. But books of accounts are always maintained under accrual basis. Accrual is a fundamental accounting concept. Is it right? So for books of account, you may follow accrual method. You may pass the entry interest receivable to interest income. But for tax purpose, it is not income till it is received. So interest receivable is an asset. Interest receivable is an asset, but it is related to income. It is related to income. Fixed asset is an asset, but it's more related to expense because we either claim it as a depreciation or we deduct it at the time of sale. Is it right? So these are the two simple examples for understanding purpose. So tax base of an asset, when economic benefits are taxable, when economic benefits are not taxable. When economic benefits are taxable, it affects your taxation. In that case, it may be related to an expense or it may be related to an income. Okay. Come on, next. Tax base of an asset when economic benefits are taxable. Example, fixed asset. Example, fixed asset. Because in case of fixed assets, in case of expense, tax base of an asset, very simple. I'll repeat 2 times. Tax base of an asset is the amount that will be deductible for tax purpose. So simple. What is the tax base of an asset? Amount that will be allowed as a deduction. It should be an asset and it should be related to an expense. So tax base of an asset relating to an expense is the amount that will be allowed for deduction in future from your taxable income. The amount that you can deduct in future against taxable economic benefit that will flow to the entity when it recovers the carrying amount of the asset. Immediately we'll take one example printed below or maybe on the next page. The cost of an asset is 1 lakh. Tax depreciation is 25,000. Question is, what is the tax base of an asset? The answer is tax base of an asset is equal to, answer is not printed, 1 lakh or 75,000? 75,000. Write down, tax base of an asset is 1 lakh minus 25,000. Means in future, you can deduct 75,000 from your income. A fixed asset can be either used or can be sold. When it is used, you will get depreciation. Depreciation is adjusted against your taxable income. When you will sell it, suppose next year you sell it for 90,000, but you don't pay tax on 90,000. 75,000 will be deducted first, and then on the remaining amount you will pay the tax. Is it right? So therefore, tax base of an asset relating to an expense is the amount that will be deductible in future from your future tax liability. Okay, one more chance. I have not written the answer in some cases just to test you. In the books of ASF Limited, an amount of rupees 25,000 is recorded as rent paid in advance. For income tax purpose, the amount is deductible on accrual basis. Determine the tax base of the asset. You have paid 25,000 rupees rent in advance. For income tax purpose, the amount is deductible on accrual basis. So this 25,000 will be allowed as an expense, as a deduction in the year in which it will accrue. So what is the tax base of this rent paid in advance? Rent paid in advance is an asset. True or false? First tell me, rent paid in advance is an asset. Yes. Now it is related to expense or income? Expense, because it is rent which will be charged to P&L account in future. What is the tax base? You are not answering. 0 or 25,000? 25,000, because whenever it will become due, it will be deducted from your taxable income. If it was written that the amount is deductible on cash basis, it means you have claimed in this year only, and therefore your tax base would have become 0, because then you will not get any deduction in the future year. So the answer of this question number 3 was 25,000. Okay. Right now the topic is tax base of an asset. Under that subtopic, when economic benefits are taxable, under that there are 2 points relating to expense and relating to income. Relating to expense, example number 2 and 3 we have covered. Relating to income. In case of income, what is the tax base of an asset? If it relates to income, the tax base of an asset is the amount. The tax base of the asset is the amount. In case if it is related to income, that will not be taxable when it recovers the carrying amount of the asset. Tax base of an asset is that amount that will not be taxable when it recovers the carrying amount of that asset. Little heavy on your head. Once again, that amount that will not be taxable when it recovers the carrying amount of the asset. So it is that portion which will not be taxed in future. That is the tax base. Take one example first, and then we will read that line again. And then I will tell you how to get the answer right. Okay, how to get the answer right. It's a very easy chapter, but subject to you have some basic knowledge of income tax also. And of course you have the knowledge of accounting also. Is it right? Without these two knowledge, you can't solve the problems. Assume that interest receivable is rupees 100. Yes, second, last bench, corner girl. Entry for interest receivable in the books of account. Interest receivable account debit, amazing. Debit 102 to interest income. And interest income will be shown in profit and loss account, credit side. Interest receivable is your asset. So this is the asset in books of account. Question is, what is the tax base? Such interest is taxed on cash basis. Have you taxed anything in this year? Hello? Did you pay tax on this interest income in this year? Once again, no problem. We'll go slowly because it will require some thinking. Such interest is taxed on cash basis. Where is the cash received here? Cash is not received. So we have not paid any tax. We have not paid any tax on this income. Now let us read the definition of tax base of an asset relating to income. Tax base of an asset is the amount that will not be taxable when it recovers the carrying amount of the asset. So next year you will recover the interest received. Next year or whenever in future, when you will receive the interest, which portion is not taxable? Entire portion is taxable. So the tax base will be how much? Tax base will be how much? Try. I'll give you two options. Tax base will be 0 or tax base will be 100. Suppose I am preparing the balance sheet. Do not answer what is not asked. Tax base of this interest receivable will be how much? I am only giving you two options, 0 or 100. 0, because 0 amount is not taxed in future. 100 rupees will be taxed in future. Okay, 100 rupees will be taxed in future. Entire 100 is taxable in future, means 0 amount is not taxable in future. Okay, so the answer is 0. Write down the answer if it is not printed. Any uncollectible income like interest receivable, if taxed on cash basis, has a dash tax base. Now in place of that dash, write down nil tax base. Oh, this nil was missing there. As it is to be added to future taxable income. In this case, the tax base of the interest receivable is 0, as the amount not taxable in the future is 0. As the amount which is not taxable in future is 0. If entire amount is taxable, which means the amount which is not taxable is 0. Okay. Now I am going to tell you a small trick. It's only a trick to understand the answer, because I have to ensure that you also get through the exam. Now what is the carrying amount of interest receivable? 100. When I write CA, it means carrying amount in books of account. Because in this chapter I have to write carrying amount many times. So I will use the short form CA. In the exam, do not write CA. It will delay your CA. So in the exam, short forms are not allowed like CA. It is not a standard short form. It is only for classroom to save time. Okay. And for tax purpose, you have not offered it for taxation. That means there must be a difference of 100 rupees between what treatment you have given in books of account and what treatment you have given for tax purpose. Is it right? So I know one thing, the difference between the book and tax figure is 100. In books I have shown income of 100 rupees, but in tax I have not shown any income. So I know the difference has to be 100 rupees. I know the answer. So what should I write here so that the difference becomes 100? 0. This minus this should be equal to 100. What treatment you have given for accounting purpose? 100 rupees income. What treatment you have given for tax purpose? You have shown 0 income. So there is a difference of rupees 100 in the treatment in the books and tax purpose. So you can find out the difference easily because you are a student of income tax. And to get the difference, what should be the tax base? The tax base has to be 0. This is one way to get the answer right. But otherwise you continue to follow the main logic given in the problem. Tax base of an asset relating to income is the amount which is not taxed in future. Okay. Now one more question I will give you on this practice. Continue, write in the notebook. Whenever this write down will come, means you have to write in the notebook. These are additional questions added. Same problem with some twist. Assume that interest receivable in your notebook. We have to dictate a lot of questions. Bring notebook, bring practice booklet. Assume interest receivable is rupees 10,000. Rupees 6,500 will be claimed as non-taxable. Rupees 6,500 will be claimed as non-taxable and balance is taxable. And balance is taxable. Now here we have divided that interest receivable into two parts. Problem is continuation of the previous one only. But the problem this time says 6,500 is not taxable and remaining amount is taxable. Now what will be the tax base of this asset? So this is an asset. It is relating to income. It is relating to income. So tax base of an asset relating to income is the amount which is not taxed in future. So out of these two amounts, 6,500 and 3,500, which is not taxable in future? 6,500. So 6,500 will become the tax base of the interest receivable. Is it right? The tax base of the interest receivable is rupees 6,500. Is rupees 6,500 as the amount not taxable in future is rupees 6,500. As the amount not taxable in future is rupees 6,500. Next paragraph in your book. When economic benefits are not taxable. Very important underline. When economic benefits are not taxable. I have already underlined for you. When economic benefits are not taxable, suppose you have a debtor of 1,000 rupees and you will realize 1,000 rupees from that debtor, collected from that debtor. Will it have a tax consequence? Will it have a tax consequence? No. When you receive money from debtor, which is your asset, which you have recovered, but there is no tax consequence. You have given loan to another party, he will repay the loan to you. Will it have a tax consequence? The answer is no. If somebody repays your loan, do you pay tax on that? Interest. Did I use the word interest? No, why you are complicating? Principal amount of loan repaid, does it have a tax consequence? No. So what will be the tax base of such asset? There is no tax consequence. And if there is no tax consequence, simple formula, listen to me. If there is no tax consequence, you artificially make tax base equal to carrying amount. You make tax base equal to, why? So that, fill in the blank, so that the difference is zero. And if the difference is zero, there is no need to create deferred tax or asset or liability on that. Is it right? So if an asset does not have any future tax consequence, its carrying amount and its tax base will become equal, so that the logic is there is no difference. And if there is no difference, the standard is not applicable for that. Standard is applicable only if the carrying amount and tax base are different. Okay. Example, debtor, principal amount of loan redeemed. If those benefits arise from asset which are not taxable, the tax base of the asset is equal to its carrying amount. Why tax base should be equal to carrying amount? So that the difference is zero. Some students said tax base should be zero. If you take tax base zero, then it will give rise to difference. And if it give rise to difference, it will give rise to deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability accounting. But we don't want that. See one example. ASF Limited recorded dividend of rupees 25,000 receivable from its subsidiary. Is it right? Now, dividend is exempt from tax. This is an exempt income. It has no future tax consequence. Dividend receivable is an asset, but it does not have future tax consequence. So what will be the tax base of the asset? Same, 25,000. For those items which will not have future tax consequence, make tax base equal to its carrying amount. Rupees 25,000. As dividend will never be taxable. As dividend will never be taxable. One more practice. Question number 6. Those who have written, come to question number 6. When a trade receivable of rupees 120, being an asset in the balance sheet, is realized in full, the economic benefit receivable from the said asset is already included in the taxable profit when the sales occurred. On realization, the benefit, that is cash inflow, are not taxable. Determine the tax base of the asset. So tax base of trade receivable is same as its carrying amount, because there is no tax consequence when the collection is made. So the answer is 120. Write down if the answer is not printed. An asset which has no tax consequence has the carrying amount equal to its tax base. Therefore, answer, write down, tax base is equal to CA equal to rupees 120. Okay. Then example, write down in your notebook. Example, write down example on tax base of asset. A Limited has a bank balance of rupees 10,000. A Limited has a bank balance of rupees 10,000. Determine the tax base. Yeah, although simple, but you have to answer. Same answer. If I withdraw that 10,000, will I have to pay tax? No. So the answer is same. And any asset which has no tax consequence, has the carrying amount as its tax base. Therefore, write down, therefore tax base of asset is bank balance, is equal to carrying amount, is equal to rupees 10,000. So normally debtor, cash account, bank account, loan given, normally their tax base and carrying amount will be the same. What is the tax base of an inventory? Paragraph number, question number 7. Good news, answer is also there. Tax base of inventory. The answer can be explained in one line. The amount that can be deducted for tax purpose. The amount that can be deducted for tax purpose. How much amount you can deduct for calculating your tax liability is the tax base of inventory, which is usually the carrying amount of the inventory. Answer is printed, don't write. Question number 7. In case of, we have seen debtor, we have seen bank, now we are seeing inventory, we have seen some fixed asset also. So tax base of inventory is its carrying amount. By definition, the tax base of an asset is the amount that will be deductible for tax purpose against any taxable economic benefit that will flow to the entity when it recovers the carrying amount of the asset. In this case, the recovery of the asset implies consumption or sale. So inventory will be either consumed or sold. When it is consumed, it becomes part of your cost of production. When it is sold, it becomes part of your cost of goods sold, which is deducted from the sale value. The carrying amount of the inventory is charged against revenue when consumed or sold in full. So its tax base is the carrying amount. Because normally under the income tax also, you will get the same deduction for inventory. And hence there is no temporary difference. This temporary difference I will explain to you later. Now you come to next important discussion. Question number 8. What is the tax base of an asset carried at fair value? What is the tax base of an asset carried at fair value? You are a student of Ind AS. You have completed many chapters. And in many chapters you have found that you are recording assets or liabilities at fair value. Now you are a student of income tax also. Since last many years, does income tax allow fair valuation of asset or liability for the purpose of tax calculation? Can I revalue a fixed asset upward and claim for a deduction? Can I revalue investment upward and claim deduction? No. There is a fixed format for calculating tax liability under the Income Tax Act. So in books of accounting you do whatever you want to do, but for tax purpose you have to follow the tax law. The standard setter has taken both possibilities. Tax law may allow fair value and tax law may not allow fair value, because it's a matter of regulation. As the accounting is improving, developing, probably in future, the tax law also may allow fair valuation based accounting even for income tax purpose. So keeping in mind, the standard setter has kept both the provisions in the standard. So we will discuss 3 cases, and this paragraph will be repeated after 1 or 2 pages also, so that time we'll go little fast, okay? So depreciable asset carried at fair value. Depreciable asset carried at fair value. But fair value is not allowed for charging depreciation for tax purpose. In their 16 says you can revalue an asset upward. Okay. And you can do that revaluation frequently also. But Income Tax Act in India does not allow the upward or the downward revaluation of fixed asset. Both are not allowed. Historical cost is the only basis for calculating depreciation under the income tax law. Neither upward nor downward revaluation is allowed. Only when you sell it, then you remove it from the block of asset, or when you completely write it off, okay, discard it. So what do? They are saying that carrying amount is the fair value. Carrying amount is the fair value means for accounting purpose fair value, but for tax base original cost allowed as per tax law less depreciation is the tax base. So for income tax purpose you will take the amount that is allowed for income tax purpose, which is your original cost less depreciation provided till the end of the year. Now they have also taken this possibility, which to my knowledge does not exist in India right now. Depreciable asset carried at fair value, but fair value is allowed for charging depreciation for tax purpose. For the purpose of this example, depreciation includes amortization. Now, to my knowledge, I may be wrong because I am not a good person to discuss income tax. It says that depreciable asset is carried at fair value, and income tax law takes fair value for allowing depreciation. If the answer is yes, then the carrying amount and tax base will become same. Okay. So tell me, Does Income Tax Act allows depreciable asset at fair value for depreciation calculation? No. So this paragraph is right now non-operative as far as Income Tax Act 1961 is concerned, but who knows? In future, the law may change. Okay. And the third is financial asset. Ind AS 109. The basic premise of Ind AS 109 is the assets will be recognized initially at fair value and subsequently also most of them at fair value. Of course, there are some financial assets which are measured at amortized cost. Is it right? But most of them will be measured at fair value. So financial asset carried at fair value, when fair value gain is not taxed. Fair value gain is not taxed and fair value loss is disallowed for tax purpose. So income taxes, if there is a fair value gain, every TPL instrument account debit to P&L account, they don't tax it. At the same time, if there is a fair value loss, P&L account debit to every TPL instrument, they disallow that expense also. So in that case, what will be the carrying amount and what will be the tax base? Carrying amount will remain the fair value as per books, but tax base will remain the original cost. But one more thing here, in case of certain assets, if it meets the definition of capital asset, I think long-term capital asset, then they also allow you indexation. Okay, in income tax there are a lot of interesting and funny things. One of them is indexation. Okay, you purchased asset in 2002, you revalue it as per current index. Okay, so in case indexation is allowed, indexed original cost becomes the tax base. So for such item, the tax base will be the indexed cost. How do you calculate indexed cost? Okay, you keep quiet. Let me try first. You will take cost into current index value divide by, let me try, index value of year of purchase. Am I right? Wow. I should teach income tax also. What is the index for year, financial year, say 2018-19? Don't know. 17-18? 280. Okay, that is homework. I am not interested. I think there are amendments in that indexation facilities. The base year itself they have changed. Right. It is running around say 282. Okay. But once it has reached 1000 also, I remember. Okay, amendment takes place. That is why I said income tax is very interesting and funny. Now, write one question. Keep the practice booklet also in front of you. In case if you find any question in practice booklet, this is not printed, this just some minutes before only I had typed. A Limited has stock. A Limited has stock. Write down, in bracket write down means you have to write. A Limited has stock at fair value in its balance sheet at rupees 1000. At rupees 1000. Whose cost is rupees 800. Whose cost is rupees 800. What is the tax base of the asset? Option A 1000, option B 800. So under the Income Tax Act, they will only allow you to deduct 800 rupees. Is it right? So the answer, write down, the tax base is rupees 800. That is the amount that will be deductible for tax purpose. 800 rupees. Have you written? This question, I think, is printed in your book, practice booklet. An entity has trade receivable of rupees 1000. It creates a general bad debt allowance of rupees 50. Problem 23. Wow. You are a genius in finding the questions. Okay. Now close that book. Close. Only on the screen. All of you. Close the practice booklet. Question number 23 from this book. 23. Yes. An entity has trade receivable of rupees 1000. It creates a general bad debt allowance of rupees 50. The carrying amount in the books of the accounts of trade receivable is 950. Thus 950. How this 950 has come? 1000 minus 50. Okay. What is the tax base of the asset? For books of account, this is how you present the receivable. Debtor, bad debt allowance means what is taught in your school, provision for doubtful debt, and this is your carrying amount. But for tax purpose, provision for doubtful debt is not a tax deductible expenditure. So the question is, what will be the tax base of the asset? What will be the tax base of the asset? 950 or 1000? Tax base of the trade receivable will remain 1000. Is it right that 50 rupees allowance for bad debt is not a deductible expenditure for income tax purpose? So write down the answer. It is printed there. Now you can open the book. Question 23, practice booklet. In income tax, general bad debt provision is not deductible. But for tax purpose, the entity is entitled for a deduction of rupees 1000 against the recovery of trade receivable. The sentence is wrongly drafted in the ICI material. What is wrongly drafted? When you receive 1000 rupees from the debtors, you don't get any deduction. This item has no tax consequence. Is it right? This item has no tax consequence. But probably they have copied this question from some CPA book. And in the US law, sometimes deductions are allowed. So therefore the tax base is rupees 1000. Anyway, the answer will be 1000, that is okay. But this line in the ICI module seems to be wrongly drafted, because in India, the entity does not get deduction when it collects the amount from the receivable. Okay. You can just write down wrongly drafted sentence. Because in India, we do not get deduction on collection of debtors. It is the same thing, but basically because of this 50, this difference we have to mention. Or you can treat this as two different items. Receivable, 1000, and provision for bad debt we can discuss under the head liability, which I have not yet covered actually. So then also the answer will remain the same. The tax base of the asset will remain same 1000 rupees. Now we will take a break.